The Underground Railroad was a way of helping enslaved people in the South to escape to the free North or Canada. It was used from the 1850s to the start of the Civil War. There was no real railroad. Instead, it was a series of safe houses and conductors that would lead enslaved persons to freedom in the North. The goal after escaping was to reach the free North states. Once a person was over the border, they were free. In the beginning, reaching the North was enough, but when the Fugitive Slave Act passed, they could be found in the North and brought back to the South to be slaves again. So the goal of the enslaved people was to reach Canada, nicknamed Heaven, where they would still experience horrible racism, but slavery was illegal. These conductors were either free former slaves going to rescue family and friends, or white abolitionists. The conductors would journey back and forth, giving people their freedom. If these conductors were caught freeing enslaved people, they could be fined, imprisoned, or hanged. It was easier to escape from border states than it was from states in the Deep South. The border states were slave states that bordered free states. These were states like Missouri, Kentucky, and Maryland. For slaves that wanted to escape, who were in the deeper South, it would be much harder to escape without help. This is why the Underground Railroad was created, because enslaved people couldn't discuss escape openly. The Underground Railroad used code names for everything. Everything involved in the Underground Railroad was named after using real railroad terms. These were agents, people who would tell those escaping where they could find a conductor. Conductors were the people who would guide the enslaved people, or cargo, to the next station, a safe house where they could hide until the night when it was safe to travel. The best chance of escaping via the Underground Railroad was to wait for an agent to come to your plantation. The agent would then tell an enslaved person where to meet the conductor. Once it was dark, they would meet the conductor where they would change out of their dirty clothes and leave. The conductor would walk with them 10 to 20 miles away to a station where they would rest for the day and set back out the next night until they were in the North. One of the most famous people of the Underground Railroad was Harriet Tubman. She was born into slavery in 1820 with the name Araminta Ross and later changed it to Harriet Tubman after she married. In 1949, she escaped from the Maryland plantation and left with two of her brothers. The three of them returned to the plantation a couple weeks later, but determined to be free, Harriet set out on her own to Pennsylvania. She would later return to the plantation 3 times to rescue others from enslavement. She attempted to rescue her husband, but he had remarried and refused to leave. After all of that, she decided to join the Underground Railroad and was a conductor leading enslaved people to Canada because she did not trust that America would treat them right. During her time rescuing enslaved people, she saved around 300 people in 19 trips to the South. This asked the question, what if an agent never came? It was not always worth it to wait for an agent to come. They would not go to every plantation. This meant that the enslaved person would have to set out on their own, which was much more risky. It was illegal for slaves to be able to read or write, and most had no idea where the North was. They needed a different way to learn how to free themselves without the help of others. This is why there were many songs that had secret messages that could help people escape. One very popular song, Follow the Drinking Gourd, could help guide people to freedom.
When the sun comes back, when the first quail calls, follow the drinking gourd, for the old man is waiting for to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd.
Each part of the song explains how to reach the North. The first line, where the sun comes back, means that you should escape in springtime. The second line, when the first quail calls, refers to the quail that starts calling in Alabama in mid-April and also tells you when to escape. The line, Follow the Drinking Gourd, refers to the Big Dipper. Drinking gourds were also known as water dippers. Dippers as in the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper points you towards the North Star. There were many songs like this one. These songs were able to help people who were not able to be contacted by agents of the Underground Railroad.
Follow the drinking gourd. Where the river ends between two hills, follow the drink and go. There's another river